Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the European crossover webinar. And we are seeing the euro come off the lows just a little bit, just above this 828 area here. And we have seen also the equities going and continue to get on some add gains. You can see here in the SPOOs, we're up to a key area here, this 2854. We've actually pushed up to the top of the 2H zone, 2-hour zone. You can see here, 2863. The high was, it looks like almost at 2865. You can see that top of that 2-hour zone. I wasn't up at that time, but that was a pretty good little fade back to 2842. And we're coming right back up again. We posted, you can see here, a hanging man. Probably not a bad area in here, although we've had a lot of volume here. But the market's trading real close to whatever the NAS is doing. NAS is still, it's coming a little bit from its highs right here. A little bit of volume in here, but trading lightly. I was mentioning in the interview I did with Futures Radio with Anthony Crudelli and Dennis Parmalee is that quite often you'll see the SPOOs make a significant high at around 2 a.m. or 3 a.m. Eastern. And sure enough, that's exactly what we've just done again. And we've actually come up here, like I wasn't up at this time, but came right up here to this 2863 and rotated down 20 handles and rallied right back up. Continue to roll over just a bit. Things here with crude oil coming down. We actually opened up around 16.16. You can see we're well off $2 off those highs. You'd think that would provide a little bit of pressure. And SPOOs continue to weaken a bit here from those highs. So we're just kind of middle of the range in it here. This was a pretty good area right here. Didn't quite make it up to this 2860. Really not that far off. Really only less than about two handles away from that. NASDAQ got above that little area before pulling back. And for data today, really nothing to speak of until we're pretty much thin. Dallas Fed manufacturing at 10:30 a.m. Eastern, and that's going to be it. We do have some Japanese data. There was also they're still yakking about Japan's unlimited bond buying when we came in the morning, in Asia, um, Pedro was asking about shorting the SPOOs, and I was telling him to be careful because we do have Amazon, um, Microsoft, and Apple to report, and or numbers coming from them, and then we also have the Japan with the bond buying, and that was probably going to give it a little bit of a boost. A little bit of boost is exactly what we saw. Tomorrow we do have wholesale inventories in the U.S. Schiller. So no real European data tomorrow. Do have French consumer confidence, but that'll be it. The following day, some Aussie data. And on Wednesday, German import prices. BOJ rate decision ahead. News was pretty light. So says the yen edges up after the BOJ. The pound gains on hopes of lockdown easing. The yen edged higher on Monday after the Bank of Japan expanded stimulus to help companies hit by the coronavirus crisis, while the pound rose again against the dollar and the euro on optimism Britain may soon ease a month-long lockdown. The BOJ's decision to remove limits on its government bond purchases and increase corporate debt buying was widely expected and pushes it in line with other major central banks that have unleashed unprecedented amounts of monetary support. Traders now shift the focus to a U.S. Federal Reserve meeting ending Wednesday and an ECB meeting on Thursday as major central banks once again take the stage as the global economy battles against a deep depression. The Fed has already announced a raft of measures and is expected to stay on hold this week, which is unlikely to trouble the dollar, analysts say. The stakes are higher for the euro because the ECB is likely to extend its debt purchases to include junk bonds, and some investors are worried that this decision could widen rifts between the members of the European Union. It will be difficult for markets to latch onto the BOJ because it has already reached the limit of what it can do, said Takuya Kanda, general manager at the research department at Gaitame in Tokyo. Every economy is suffering, and all major central banks have already eased policy a lot. So it's difficult to differentiate from one currency to the next. The yen edged up to 7.28 per dollar on Monday. Against the euro, the traded at 16.36, close to its strongest in 3 years. The BOJ previously had a loose pledge to buy government debt, so holdings increased by around 80 trillion yen a year. The BOJ's decision to remove the guidance at a policy meeting on Monday was largely symbolic because actual bond buying has slowed to an annual pace of less than 20 trillion yen due to the central bank's outsized presence in the market. The BOJ already said it would increase purchase of corporate bonds and commercial paper as companies struggle with lost revenue. Japan, like most major economies, has urged businesses to close and encourage people to stay at home to slow coronavirus infections, which is causing a widespread downturn. The pound rose against the dollar and the euro on speculation Britain will ease its lockdown as early as this week. And Prime Minister Boris Johnson returns to work after recovering from the illness caused by the virus. Against the euro, the pound rose to 87.20. Johnson's due back after recovering, and Antipodean currencies were buoyed as investors acknowledged the success both countries had had in emerging from the virus pandemic. The Australian dollar jumped 1/10 to 64.62 as more than 1 million Australians rushed to download an app to help it trace close contacts. The New Zealand dollar gained 85 tenths to 60.70. The Aussie Yen also managed to gain against the Japanese currency. Europe and the U.S. are moving to ease some restrictions put in place when the pandemic first occurred. However, some currency traders say they remain worried because threats posed by the virus may have been eliminated completely. The dollar has risen in recent weeks due to dollar funding crunch and safe haven inflows, but some analysts say the greenback is likely to fall in the long term because the Fed has eased monetary policy more aggressively than other central banks. And the ECB is under pressure to act this week after EU policymakers last week failed to reach a consensus on the deals of a €1 trillion emergency fund. With that, we'll go and move into the analysis. It says the euro ultimately defended the 776 area, and we talked about this last week, although it did get a pretty good dip, almost all the way down to 726, which I think we had, may have listed it as a support on Friday. Yeah, we did, actually. We did have 726 for support on Friday. So once again, just going with the levels. But since the euro ultimately defended the 776 key level, closing above 108, support will continue to be the 776. Resistance will be 870, followed by 932. So we're going to have 870. And 776. So the cable closed slightly higher in a tight range on Friday. Resistance is going to be 24.48. For a trigger, a daily close above 25.02 will signal a bottom in place, opening a challenge to 26.02. Support is going to be 22.17. Well, you can see here we pushed higher. So once again, it's going to be 24.48. We actually made it to 24.55, but we'll stick with the 24.48, although it did take it up by a hair. Support is actually going to be right there. You see the close here and almost the open there? That's going to be support. So 23.44. If we were to turn around, but I mean, it goes south, but that doesn't seem likely. But looking at the Aussie dollar, we did go in and had a nice little turnaround after taking this dip here. It looked like the market was really open to push lower, okay, here. But as things start to turn around a bit, as far as the easing of um, pandemic closings. We're getting a little bit of extra boost. Also, some risk on with the BOJ, so it's allowed us to move higher. Um, and at least for right now, we're above 64.41, which is key. We're just barely above it. Resistance would be right there if we were to push some stops. 65.07. And looking at support, would be just a dip below that 63.97, which is going to be, actually, you can go right there, 63.69 for support. Looking here at the Kiwi, we saw a nice little pop back up here on Friday, and you can see right here where they've run into resistance, right here at that 60.77. The Kiwi hasn't had the formidability as the Aussie, so we'll stick right here with the level here at 60.77. And you can see here support right in there. You can see all the touches coming across here. So it's going to be 59.75. And with that, we'll go move into the dollar CAD. After sliding back from this 42, we've kind of just held steady, but we're trading in a very, very tight range here. And resistance is going to be, basically, is going to work as a trigger, kind of like what we mentioned about the cable. And resistance right now is, you can see the body touches right there. That's going to be resistance, which is 41.35. A break above that will certainly challenge it right back above 42, but it's going to be 41.35 for resistance. And as far as support, we'll go and take a look at the 2 hour. It's going to be 40.14. And that would open up a trigger lower. So we'll go 40.14. Well, the dollar peso continues to go on this ramp. Fridays was interesting here because you almost had like a medium legged doji, almost. But I'm just saying is, look at this continued advance here. It's definitely, continues to remain on the bid, but how much further this is? Let's go and move into the 2-hour chart. Right there. See that coming across from here to here? You see that? That's going to be resistance 25.16. And that'll be support. Remember that 24.62 area? That'll be support. Dollar Yen still trading in a very tight range. I mean, we've taken a little bit of a dip on the downside on the BOJ, but still really nothing of any real significance. Support's going to remain the same. Well, actually, we've had 7.15, but you can see we've tried to press a little bit lower. We'll just go with the level right in here, and you can see that's right there, which is 693. The only difference is resistance is going to be here 778. We'll drop it from 793 to 778. Once again, just going with the levels. To me, this market has been dead money. We'll see if with the BOJ if it changes a little bit. Now we'll move into the dollar. This is the same thing with a lot of these currencies. Just right now, it's just going to be just the levels. They're trading still in a relatively tight range. Dollar had a potential to break higher. We did go in and tag. I think we had our previously we had par 80 as our resistance, and we got up there. And I think for it was Friday, we opened it to move even higher potentially, but there was still the chance they could pull back. But had to open that door for it to move higher, and it didn't come through, and we've dipped back. This is going to be support right here. You can see right there, that bottom is going to be 99.63. Not saying we'll get down there, but that's going to be work as a not only for support, but basically as a trigger. If we get a if we dip below that and we hold, and then resistance on the upside is just going to be this bar here, which is going to going back to par 80. Oh, we're going to move into the cross rates. Now the Kiwi Yen, we've come off these lows. We're just gently edging higher, but you can certainly see where the resistance comes in right there on this close, right there. We pushed a little bit beyond that, but that's actually where the market is right now, and that's going to be resistance right there in that close, which is going to be 64.96. Oh, we had 95. We'll just put it at 1. Obviously, the Bank of Japan probably had a little bit extra to do with that. Support is going to be right there. Actually, go with this close. That open, see all those touches, 2 touches. It's going to be 64.04. Relatively tight range. Well, we had 64.05, so we're moving it up 1 pip and dropping this down 1 pip. So not much of a change. Let's go on and move on now to the Euro Yen. Took this dip and we've come back. That's going to be a resistance. I'm not saying we're going to get there today, but this is going to be key right there. You see coming across here, so these body touches, 1688. On a short span, you'd be looking at 1663, which is not too high, far above today's high, but for right now, that's going to be resistance. We'll go with that, 1688. That will be support. 1598. You can see these body touches coming across here. That will be support, 1598. And moving into the Euro one. right there. We've just dipped below it too. You see these two little right there. Well, that actually is a low, basically. Right there. 67.78. Came on the wire, just China suspending all futures contracts as of tomorrow at 9 a.m. For those with crude oil, copper, and soybeans. Seeing the crude oil come off a little bit, but they had a big mess with that whole crude oil. And crude oil is now taking a little bit of a dip. Not too much, but a little bit. Go on with the Euro Kiwi. This one continues to go and hug the lows, and that's just going to be, it's just this level right here. 78.87. And actually, I don't even think we've even finished going with the high. Hang on. And you can see right here, it's going to be resistance. It's going to be that bar right there. 69.27. That will be resistance right there, coming across here right here, and has come down with these body touches. That's going to be resistance, which can be 79.78 for Euro Kiwi. Obviously getting a little bit of extra boost because of Bank of Japan, but resistance is going to be right here at the bottom, right there, that bar, which is going to be, I guess somebody already put an alarm there. We should not to go with anybody else's alarms. We'll just go with my own touches, which is right there, which is going to be 69.43. And support's actually going to be the low right here, and that confluences here with this close, or actually open, which is going to be right there, 68.27. Now let's go move into the guppy. This market, we've talked about this since the prior week. Remember, we talked about this rounding top. It didn't break lower, but then it's probably has a little more to do with Bank of Japan than anything else. So the upside is going to be right here at the bottom of these two bars. See here? It's coming across. It's going to be 33.87. Right there is going to be the low. I mean the support, which is going to be 32.46. And lastly, let's go and wrap things up with Sterling Odd. You can see where they're running to right there. Key level, which is going to be, if we make that dip, 92.16. And resistance will be right there, that lower bar here. That would actually take out this high here, but I think they would run into some resistance right there. I don't think it would take off too far, which is going to be 93.23. And that'll go in and complete the bias chart. Euro continue to make a little bit of a move here, but once again, 870, we're looking for resistance, at least initially, that could trigger that move to the next level, which I believe we had as 932. Yeah, followed by 932. Resistance will be 870 followed by 932. We'll take a look at where we stand here in equities. As I mentioned, just a real quick recap, you can see here that we made the top run up here to the top of the zone here. We've got the zone here of 28.42 to 28.63. The market actually challenged us right on the open on Sunday, came back down, reasserted itself, came to the top of the zone, and has rotated lower. 28.48 is also the 78%. We do have a little bit of a hanging man here. But as I mentioned this week, especially with lockdown starting to see more openings, we may start the week, I believe, with a little bit of a bid. Actually, it's a little bit decent, a little bit here. But I think as the rest of the week goes, we may start to then rotate lower. But that's to be seen. At least I thought, like I said, that we started out a little bit strong here. Now, when we look at it on the weekly, we do have essentially two hanging man here. It's more pronounced here in the NASDAQ, which isn't back-to-back, but we had a real good solid hangman here. And once again, I think we can press up a little bit higher here to start the week. And we'll start to do that here. You see that? It's been kind of quiet when we get one of the things I was looking here and I would have wanted it to see it, which still wasn't a bad pullback here. I was willing to take a short as we got up to here. Once again, I missed all this. I'm asleep, but look at all this volume. All this time we spent down here. So I thought, okay, I don't want to jump in too soon. I was hoping we could get up to about right in here, 28.61, and then I was going to take a short. But even then, it has pulled back, but you can see it was real quiet, and you can see kind of thin, just kind of gaps a little bit lower here. From here, kind of gaps a little bit lower. But the thing that kept me hesitant was this area right here. Looks like a lot of solid trading. I think they give it up too quick. They're starting to come back up. We'll see what happens. I think we're still going to have a little bit of a bid to start. And once again, what they did for most of last week was we didn't see a lot of action until we got into the U.S. Open. Although we did get a good run-up in here. We'll just touch real quick on right here. You can see crude oil continue to remain under pressure. And we opened up there and got period 1670, and you can see here we're well over $2 lower. Pressure remains. Gold's still holding kind of steady here, although this is a level right here of interest. It's around the 17, really all the way up to 53. So just a little bit of a room here. This is on the weekly, though. We can 2 hour. That's all we have. We'll see you in the chat room. Thanks for joining us here on the European crossover webinar.